I'm humbled. One of the things that's hit me the hardest is talking with fans or, really anyone who's not in the band and realizing that our band means more to them than it might mean to me. And that's totally valid. But a little bit hard to process and not something I expected. I think that I've always, and I think we have always tried to make the records we couldn't find. I'm trying to make the music I want to hear that doesn't exist. You're never going to. Yes, we filled in this niche here and we've made this record, and you're always kind of chasing that dragon. And that's the fun of it. I hope to never make the record that I'm looking for, but I hope to always try. Another thing I keep thinking about is just sort of like, in a sense, I think and I believe I speak for everybody else in the band, I've played every show like it's my last for 17 years. This time it may just be my last. I don't think any of us ever knew that we were setting out to do this or that it would ever go this far. Like I said, I dropped out of school, but I made sure I had a clean break because I figured this band sounds like somebody kicked a hornet's nest. Like, there's no way this is going to go that far. If I get a couple cool tours and see the States and, that would be rad. Next thing you know, and it's really hard for me to untangle what is my life, and you're kind of like it's almost impossible to take myself out of this now. So much of who I am and what I'm doing and where I'm at in my personal life is a direct result of this. I met my wife on the road. We got pregnant on the road. She was our tour manager for years. It's like that alone, the friendships I've made, the relationships, the amount of the world that I've seen, and it's weird. It's again very hard to process. But for the most part, yeah, I hear stuff like that and I'm just kind of humbled and heart-warmed. And in a sense that there is something, like I said, bigger than us. Dillinger is this kind of other thing that we all contribute to. I was a fan of the band before I joined it. So there's still always going to be a piece of me that holds our band to that standard. Because it's a little bit, I'm kind of playing both sides of the fence. I'm obviously more on this side of the fence now. So I still have this part of me that's also disappointed or sort of like, really? But kind of like, okay, I get it. I don't know. This whole thing has been such a metaphor for everything else, and an exercise in commitment and faith and I don't know. I don't even know the words anymore. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm wrapping up every answer with like, I don't know, because I'm just like breathless with everything I could say, and how emotional I could get answering this question. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hope that it stands the test of time.
Who do you think was gonna pick up after you guys? Are there any bands out there doing something really interesting right now?
Man, I mean, there's a lot of bands doing interesting things. I think, I have to say this delicately.
Of course.
I don't really think that there's much to be flattered by in imitation. I think anytime people or bands, musicians take the crazy stage thing, and put that first, I don't get it. Gigi Allen did it better than us anyway, and that's it's. I think there's a lot of bands that kind of that put too much influence into their music and not enough of themselves. It's okay, I guess it's kind of like a good artist borrows and a great artist steals. you could borrow that bike that you stole, and essentially ride it around town, or you could steal the bike, repaint it, lock it up somewhere else. Now it's your bike. And I can't, for the most part, I can't really prove it's mine, or I think that's a lot more respectable. And I think there's not enough of that. I think, and some of that comes with maturity and sophistication and practice and having an agenda and being, smart or clever or whatever. I'm sure there's an opportunity for me to throw a bunch of bones and drop a bunch of names. I don't want to do that. I think, essentially any band who's truly being themselves, truly being honest, truly saying something that has an agenda or that has a new angle, whatever that might be, whether it's musical, political, some fusion of some amalgamation of really kind of incongruent sounds or whatever, I think that's, more interesting. I think, in a lot of ways, like punk music and indie music, electronic music and indie music is more punk than punk. I think people get really, caught up in punk being about Liberty Spikes. It's like, no, that has nothing to do with it. I think that, it's really just kind of about, essentially any band who's being truly individualized, or truly self-actualized and as much, as honest as they can be with what they're trying to say and who they are and what the muse is telling them, and I think it's about what you shut out and what you don't do and what you're not trying to emulate. That's kind of where real art happens. And I think that we're still trying to figure out what that is for us. And I think more than ever, in a sense, on this last record, we actually let our influences come out a little bit more, which is kind of like, okay, I think we've earned it a little bit. And most people may not even hear it. Most people may say that our influences have always been on our sleeves, and I don't know. But yeah, I think there's tons of bands doing amazing things. Most of them are not necessarily in heavy music. I'm not saying that I don't love a few heavy bands that, really blow me away every year. And a lot of people can look at my end of year lists and some of the t-shirts I wear occasionally, and you'll see what else I'm, tuned into. You'll listen to the other bands I'm into, and you'll hear some of that too. But I'm just as likely to go to Burning Man next year as I am to, Maryland Death Fest. And I think most people should be that, think and act that widely, and not be so kind of, insulated. I kind of feel like I truly believe it's better to have loved and lost than to have never have loved at all. This was never supposed to last forever. Nothing does. If you think it should, you're holding on too tight. You're putting too much responsibility on us. And I, in a sense, don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. It's not about you anyway. I'm glad you enjoyed this, but it was never about the fans. I love my fans, but that's not, I'm answering to something in here and where, a little bit, I like the feedback and I like the criticism because it motivates me, but it doesn't change my course at all. Now it's their turn. Impress me. Entertain me. Show me what this sounds like to you. I'm all ears. I'm all eyes. It's been really fulfilling for us to, get the nods from some of our influences, and and again, to go back to the last question about are there bands that I want to answer that question because I know how much it meant to me to have like Lars Ulrich say something about us when they accepted that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing. That was truly special. It gave my, not only me a sense of justification, but my parents were like, wow, okay, this is real. Like you dropped out of school for this? Okay, I get it now. It took me 10 years, but I get it. So I don't want to kind of skirt around that, but I'd be here all day giving you. It's either I gotta say nothing or I'd bore you with all the music I love right now. But I just kind of feel like maybe it's time for us to get out of the way. Maybe we're clogging the pipeline a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, I guess, and of course, like, I don't want to stop. And, and in my head, it's also like, you might not like my other projects, but hopefully this kind of satiates something, and hopefully what Greg is doing, what Ben is doing, and what everybody is doing will satisfy you in a different way, and maybe even more so. I don't know. But, it's almost, I guess I've said this in other ways too. If you lived forever, it would get fucking boring. Imagine a movie that just goes on forever. Like, what's great is that this thing has a storyline and an arc and a beginning and an ending. I don't want to live forever. I don't want that. Maybe there is a part of me that, the person who's into, futuristic ideas, and of course my ego is in here like, what are you saying? No, it's not true. But yeah, that's not what I want. I don't think it means anything unless it has an ending. And I think at best for the fans, we can offer you sort of like the assisted suicide mentality, where it's sort of like, hey, I'm not saying we're sick or terminally ill or something, but there's going to be a day and we're going to party, and then that next day we're going to pull the plug and we're going to let you know that it's coming, so you can emotionally, process this the same way we are. But it's not a surprise, and I want to put the fun in funeral. I want this to be a celebration, and kind of be like, well, fuck yeah, that was rad. Like, damn, that was a good movie when you see the credits roll. Like, yes, that was great. I hope that that's how we can, give this thing that Viking funeral and be like, because in a sense, we're pushing that boat out too. We're not on the boat. We're like, whew, that was, yeah, man, look at that. We did that, that, because I think that in a sense, we kind of want a little bit of that too. We're also so in it. I think we all need to get out of it a little bit and be objective about it before we can really even consider, what other things we have to say. I don't know. We can only yell through this bullhorn for so long before people just, take it for granted. I feel more bad for the people 10 years from now who, in much the same way that I will never see the Beatles. I would have loved to see the Beatles, but guess what? It just wasn't my time. I feel more bad for those kind of people. The kid who's born 10 years from now who was like, damn, I would have loved to have seen that. And all they get is YouTube videos. That's a bummer. But for anybody who's seen us, like, stop whining. Seriously.